Welcome back to Outside Views and Merry Christmas, everyone. And today we're taking a long, hard look at something that typically gets buried under a mountain of fake snow and some British exceptionalism. The fact that the traditional British Christmas is in many ways a German export. And my personal view is that this is deeply ironic how much certain people in Britain cling to their island traditions while being completely oblivious to the fact that their most beloved festive icons were brought over by immigrants and foreign royals. And even if it's a day of peace today, you had to give me that one. And this connection is a reminder of how much better things are when we are open to each other, when the British are open to the continent rather than cutting themselves off behind arbitrary walls. The centerpiece of any British living room right now is the Christmas tree. But for centuries, this was seen as a weird foreign German toy. And while people like to credit Prince Albert, the reality is that German influence started much earlier with Queen Charlotte. She was the German wife of George III, who set up the first known English Christmas tree at Queen's Lodge in Windsor back in 1800. And she didn't just put up a branch, she brought in a whole yew tree, decorated it with wax candles, sweetmeats and toys, and invited the children of the local gentry to admire it. But it didn't go viral, as we would say today, until 1848, when a drawing in the Illustrated London News showed Queen Victoria and her German husband Prince Albert standing around a decorated spruce at Windsor Castle. The British middle classes, who were obsessed with copying the royals, saw that image and immediately decided they had to have one too. Before this, the British decorated with a few sprigs of holly and ivy, but the Germans brought the idea of the Tannenbaum, an entire indoor tree that transformed Christmas from a rowdy outdoor public festival into the private, family-oriented celebration it is today. And it wasn't just the tree itself, it was how it was decorated. And you honestly can thank German craftsmen for the glass baubles that now weigh down branches across the UK. The first glass ornaments were created in Lauscha, a small town in the Thuringian forest, where glassblowers like Hans Greiner started blowing glass fruits and glass nuts to replace the real ones that were too heavy for the branches. By the 1870s, industrial transport made it possible to ship these delicate blown glass stars and crosses from German and Bohemian workshops straight to British shops. It was a German chemist, it was Justus von Liebig, who developed the silver nitrate solution used to coat the inside of those baubles, giving them that mirrored, shimmering effect we all recognize. And even tinsel, which many people find tacky today, was invented in Nuremberg in 1610, originally made of real shredded silver to reflect the candlelight from the trees. And then we have the food, where the influence is equally visible if you know where to look. While the British boast about their heavy, boulder-like Christmas cakes, more and more people are turning to Stollen as a lighter and more flavorful alternative. Stollen has become a massive part of the typical British Christmas in just the last few decades, but it has been a German staple since the 1400s, designed to symbolize the Christ child wrapped in swaddling clothes. And let's talk about mulled wine or Glühwein. The British version only really caught on in the Victorian era, influenced by the German tradition of warming spiced wine that dates back centuries. And in my view, the British version is often a bit tame by comparison, lacking that extra bit of German, what can you call it, theatricality that you find at a proper Christmas market. And one of the most visible German exports in recent years is the Christmas market or Christkindl market. 40 years ago, these were a novelty in Britain, but now every major city from Birmingham to Edinburgh has one, and we will talk about them this week as well. The Birmingham Frankfurt Christmas market, which started in 1997 with just a few stalls, has mushroomed into a massive event with over 180 stalls, making it one of the largest German Christmas markets in the world, outside of Germany, of course. Here in my hometown, we have 6 right now. The reasons these took off is that they offer an authentic alternative to the brash, commercialized US-style Christmas that has dominated the UK for decades. People crave that sense of what we call Gemütlichkeit, that specific German brand of cozy conviviality, even if most of the British visitors can't quite pronounce the word Gemütlichkeit. It's kind of a celebration of peace, of quiet reflection, and age-old customs that provides a much-needed break from the frantic consumerism of the high street. And even the concept of the Advent calendar, which is a staple in every British household with children, is a German invention from the 19th century. It started with German Lutherans, Lutherans, who would make a chalk mark on the door for every day in December until Christmas Eve. The first printed calendars came from Germany, designed by people like Gerhard Lang to help children count down the days with a sense of wonder and patience. Today, the British use them to get a daily hit of cheap chocolate, like the Germans do, but the structure and the tradition of that countdown remain purely Germanic. That's why, by the way, we still have the 24-day Christmas calendars. I see on TikTok a lot of those 12-day calendars in American and British households. But there also is the music. And some of the most iconic British carols are actually translations of German songs. Silent Night was originally Stille Nacht, written by Franz Xaver Gruber and Joseph Mohr, in this case in Austria. But it became a global phenomenon that the British adopted as their own. And O Christmas Tree is obviously O Tannenbaum, and Lo, how a rose ihr blooming comes from the 16th century German hymn Es ist ein Ros entsprungen. And even the way the British think about the spirit of Christmas was shaped by these continental influences. The German influence even extended to the trenches of World War I during the famous Christmas truce of 1914. British soldiers reported seeing German troops placing miniature illuminated trees on the parapets of their trenches and singing carols. And that shared cultural symbol, the Christmas tree, became a bridge between enemies, a sign of shared values in the middle of a slaughterhouse. And it's a profound irony that the very things that make a British Christmas feel homey and safe were brought over by the people they would later fight in 2 world wars. In my view, the British have a habit of naturalizing these traditions so quickly that they forgot where they came from. But we shouldn't forget history. They took the German tree, the German glass ornaments, the German concept of a family-centered holiday, and they put a British tradition label on it. But if you look closely, the DNA of the holiday is unmistakably continental. And Prince Albert didn't just bring a tree. He brought a different way of thinking about family and the domestic hearth. The Victorian Christmas that the British are so proud of is actually a German Victorian hybrid. And this cultural exchange happened because the borders were porous and the royal families were interconnected. It happened because people were curious about other cultures and willing to adopt the best of what they saw elsewhere. And to me, this historical reality makes the modern push for isolation and the cutting of ties with Europe look even more tragic. We are currently living through a period where some want to pretend that British culture is a self-contained island, but Christmas proves that this is a lie. Every bauble, every tree, and every slice of Stollen is a testament to the fact that Britain has always been part of a wider European family. Acknowledging this doesn't take anything away from the British celebration, but it does highlight how much we lose when we pretend we can exist in a vacuum. The splendid isolation that some people crave is a myth, especially at Christmas. The holiday is a tapestry of influences, and the German thread is one of the strongest and most beautiful in the whole design. And so, As you look at your Christmas tree or sip your mulled wine, remember that these aren't just British icons. They are symbols of a shared European culture that is far older and more resilient than any recent political border. We are better together, and our Christmas proves it. And the outside view on this is that Britain's favorite holiday is essentially a German export that they've spent 150 years pretending they invented. So it's time to be honest about our shared heritage and realize that the most beautiful things we have are the things we shared with our neighbors. So once again, Merry Christmas. I hope I gave you a little bit to think about, and I'm looking forward to a nice evening here in Germany. Here in Germany, we are opening presents on Christmas Eve, unlike my friends in Britain. We will talk tomorrow via WhatsApp, by the way. You know that. Everybody should really enjoy these days. And we will continue a little bit with a little bit more of Christmas-themed topics during Christmas. Forgive me the little spiky notes in between, but it's really, really worth thinking about.